Hello everybody and welcome to the top 5 YouTube boxing matches of all time. This is going to be my personal favourite top 5 matches in YouTube boxing history. And the rules for this video are, if a YouTuber participated in the fight, then that counts as a YouTube boxing match. So for example, all of Jake Paul's fights count, all of KSI's fights count. However, Vidal Riley, Tommy Fury and Idris Virgo, those guys do not count as YouTube boxers. And their fight can only be counted if they fought a YouTube boxer. So with all that being said, guys, let me know what your personal top 5 YouTube boxing fights are of all time, and let's get on with the ranking. Coming in at number 5, I have a personal favourite. It's Dean vs. Waleed Sharks 2. Now, you might be thinking, Logan, the first fight was way better than this one. However, let's be honest, this fight was way more culturally significant than the first one. There is a bit of recency bias here, I suppose, but I'm going to be honest, Dean vs. Waleed Sharks 2 was such a good fight. I watched it live in the arena in Manchester and it was incredible. I had someone sat next to me who didn't even care about YouTube boxing, who was only there to watch Tommy Fury, and even he was on the edge of his seat watching this fight. It was intense, especially in that second round. Dean the Great got the better of the fight, of course. He really showed the levels and how much he'd improved since the first fight. In the first fight, Dean was knocked down 3 times by Waleed until getting that nice knockout. However, in this fight, it seemed to be the opposite. Dean knocked down Waleed twice before Waleed had a comeback in the 5th round. However, it was too little too late. Dean the Great won on points quite easily with 2 knockdowns to his name, both in the second round. It was an incredible fight. These guys are some of Misfits' best fighters, and they are by far the best lightweights on the Misfits scene at the moment, until I come along anyway, you know. Obviously, your boy wants to fight Dean the Great, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna smoke him up. But before that, these guys are those guys. And unfortunately for Waleed, he couldn't get the job done again, and he will probably have to take a couple more comeback fights before finally getting that trilogy. I would love to see the trilogy personally, but I know since Dean won both fights, it's hard to really call it much of a rivalry. But I'm sure Waleed can work up to that Dean the Great trilogy in the near future. So yeah, Dean the Great vs. Waleed Sharks 2 is on this list as number 5. Coming up at number 4 on this list, we have Anisong Gibb vs. Austin McBroom. This fight was weirdly good. I mean, no one expected it to be this good. Anisong Gibb came through with them big knockdowns. What happened was Anisong Gibb vs. McBroom. They were set to fight on McBroom's own promotion. McBroom hit Gibb in the first, or it might have been the second round, with a knockdown. Gibb was a little hurt, but he got up, and then Gibb came through and knocked Austin down 5 times, I think it was. I think it was around 4 or 5 times. McBroom was on the canvas before getting completely KO'd. I mean, it was a nightmare. These guys did have a rematch on Kingpin, but it was significantly worse. McBroom lost by injury. It wasn't really fun to watch, like, at all. It wasn't really that good. But the first fight was incredible. Austin McBroom got his ass whooped by Gibb, and this turned out to be one of the most rewatchable fights in YouTube boxing history. People are rewatching it back to this day. It is so good. It's so fun to watch, and Anisong Gibb really showed the levels of where he is and how much he's improved since the Jake Paul fight and the Taylor Holder fight. Austin McBroom didn't know what hit him, and I can't wait to see what's next for Gibb. Maybe on Misfits or another promotion to come. Up next on this list, in the number 3 place, we have KSI vs. Logan Paul 1. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When it comes to pure storytelling, KSI vs. Logan Paul 1 was the best. It was incredible. The way the fight was moving, with Logan Paul starting out quick, fast, aggressive and powerful, and winning the first 2 rounds with ease, and JJ slowly coming back into the fight, winning the last 4 rounds, but then in round 5, Logan Paul switches it up and he takes round 5, making this fight a draw. This is by far the most culturally significant YouTube boxing match ever, barring maybe one on this list, which we'll get to in a minute. But that was the best fight at the time, and still one of the best to rewatch. I mean, it is incredible. It's where it all started, apart from the Weller and Theo Baker stuff. It is where YouTube boxing hit the mainstream. And it was the result of this fight, the draw, and the one after this in the rematch, that caused KSI and Logan to become business partners and make just the most insane moves in YouTube history with Prime, with all this other stuff. I mean, KSI and Logan Paul have revolutionized YouTubing as a whole, and this is the fight that kickstarted that whole thing. At the time, it was being called the biggest event in internet history, and to be honest, that's exactly what it was. It is the biggest event in internet history by far, and it's also just a really good fight. The second best YouTube boxing match is also the second best reaction I've ever had to watching a fight live at my home, and that is Deji versus Fousey. Deji's first win, I mean, this was crazy. Misfits won. There's a reason the crowd went mental and everyone was on their feet. There's a reason that this, at the time, and even to this day, is one of the most talked about YouTube boxing events and matches of all time. Deji coming back as the underdog, fighting Fousey, who everyone thought Fousey was going to walk through Deji. They thought Fousey was going to kill him. He came through with that bodybuilder attitude. He came through with that icy red attitude. Deji came through not boastful this time, not in your face. He came through on a mission, and he destroyed Fousey Tube. I mean, it wasn't even close. Fousey hit like, what, 2 punches on Deji? Deji made Fousey Tube his dog, and he took him for a walk. Deji was smoking up Fousey, and the win at the end, the celebration, I mean, even the commentators couldn't even keep it in. I mean, it was insane. Deji getting his first win is one of the most culturally significant moments in YouTube boxing history. I mean, Deji deserved it. He had been part of this. He had been such a big part of YouTube boxing as a whole for so long, and he finally comes through. Deji with the W. Wedgie, ladies and gentlemen. And to absolutely no one's surprise, the best YouTube boxing match of all time is KSI vs Logan Paul 2. The rematch of all rematches, KSI vs Logan Paul 2 was the first YouTube boxing match to ever be professionally sanctioned with no headgear, 10-ounce gloves, someone's getting knocked out. KSI vs Logan Paul 2 was the fight that broke the internet. It created the biggest buzz around YouTube boxing to ever happen. I mean, it felt big. This fight had been leading up to for at least 3 years. KSI and Logan, this was the fight. This was the YouTube boxing match. In history, in I don't know, 10 years, people are going to look back at that moment and go, that is when they broke through. There was before KSI vs Logan Paul, and there's after KSI and Logan Paul. That's how significant this fight alone is. And when you watch the fight back, it's a great fight. It's an incredible fight. One knockdown apiece, points taken off, close fight. I mean, KSI came at Logan like a badass, just trying to take his head off. Logan more technical, great boxing. I mean, not by professional standards, but by normal standards, great boxing. I mean, KSI vs Logan Paul 2 is one of the most watched boxing fights in general ever. And I mean that. If you go on the YouTube channel, it has tens of millions of views on different videos of it being uploaded. It is by far the best YouTube boxing match to ever exist, and I seriously doubt anything will ever top it. The only thing I could imagine ever topping KSI vs Logan Paul 2 is KSI vs Jake Paul, but to be honest, I seriously doubt that fight's ever going to happen, and it's going to be just one of the biggest what-ifs in YouTube boxing. That's it, guys. That's the end of the video. Please let me know in the comments below, what is your personal top 5 YouTube boxing matches of all time? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you did agree with any of the picks on my list. Let me know who your favorite YouTube boxer is as well, and I'll see everyone in the next video. Goodbye, guys.